When did you last read a newspaper? If the answer is not recently and you're sitting important English exams this coming year, I'd advise you to start reading the news now. You can buy a paper, read one at the library, or even online. In fact, you could factor it into your daily routine by making yourself read the news headlines for 5 minutes on the BBC website before you allow yourself on Instagram. Let's look at a couple of examples. The first comes from the Times newspaper, a broadsheet which it would be wise for you to read as it's often used as a source of texts for exams. There's a reference here to Brexit, and you'd need to be living on another planet if you hadn't heard of it. That's exactly the sort of thing you need to be aware of. Brexit comes from an amalgam of the words Britain or British and exit, and it's a reference to the referendum in 2016 deciding whether or not the UK should remain as part of the European Union. Another year it may be a different political, social or cultural event that dominates the headlines, but keep up with what is going on at the moment because it could be relevant and it informs your answering of comprehension questions. Being aware of what's happening at the moment is important, but it's equally important to have some understanding of what has happened in the past. And here is a reference to a very important historic person, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary who fought against the system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination in South Africa, known as apartheid. Another word that you should be aware of. Having been imprisoned for 27 years, he eventually was released and became President of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. You should definitely be aware of people like Nelson Mandela, as that will help you with comprehension questions and your understanding of the world. Another reason why reading a newspaper can help with your comprehension of English is because of the allusions that you can encounter in articles. They can come from classics, for example, a mention of Odysseus, from science, saying that something is a catalyst for something else, from religion, for example, the Garden of Eden, from food, have your cake and eat it, from music, hitting the right note. The example here from The Guardian is also an allusion. It's a reference to Shakespeare and the play Hamlet, where Hamlet says, "To be or not to be, that is the question." As you can see, it's been slightly reformulated here to B12, which is a vitamin, or not to B12, that is a weird question. If you didn't know the Shakespearean original, you wouldn't understand what that whole headline was about. So this is where your general knowledge and understanding come into play when you're reading a newspaper. General knowledge and cultural references are just two of the many reasons why reading a newspaper is good preparation for English exams. In other videos, I'll look at what newspapers do and how they do it. If you'd like to see these and other tips on how to revise for English exams, just subscribe to the channel below. This is Karen Elwes at the Learning Cauldron. See you next time.